Nira lived on the small mining planet of Telenor. The planet was dusty and quiet, with red soil stretching to the horizon and jagged rocks rising like silent guardians. Life there was simple. People woke with the sun, worked through the long hours, and returned home to small, neat houses built from metal and stone. Nira worked as a technician, repairing machines that mined rare crystals from the deep caves beneath the surface. Every morning she walked the same path from her small home to the workshop. She greeted her neighbors with a warm smile, and they greeted her back with nods or brief waves. Children laughed as they chased small robotic pets across the streets. Nira loved her world in its simple way. She liked the hum of the machines, the smell of the soil, and the steady rhythm of life. People often said she was ordinary, and she had come to accept it. At the workshop, Nira's day started with checking the equipment. Conveyor belts, drills, and energy extractors all needed careful attention. She was precise in her work. A small error could mean hours of lost time or damage to the fragile crystal veins. Her hands moved with practiced skill, fixing wires, replacing worn parts, and adjusting machines. But today, something felt different. The air was unusually still. The sun was high, but shadows moved strangely, almost as if the light itself had a mind. Nira paused as she connected a power core to a drill. The metal glowed under her touch, and a faint hum echoed in the room. The machines, which had always obeyed her careful instructions, seemed to pulse with energy. At first, she thought it was a simple power fluctuation. But as she stepped back, she noticed the light from the windows bending in a way that was unnatural. The machines on the workbench vibrated slightly, almost as if they were alive. Nira frowned. She had repaired machines for years and had never seen this before. "Is anyone else noticing this?" she asked, glancing around. The other technicians shook their heads, busy with their own tasks. Nira frowned deeper. The hum grew louder, like a whisper just beyond hearing. She reached out her hand instinctively, not sure why. The moment her fingers touched the metal panel, the vibration surged, sending a warm tingle through her body. She stepped back, startled. The machines fell silent. Nothing else happened. Nira shook her head, thinking she must be imagining things. But deep inside, she felt a strange certainty. Something about her was changing, something she could not yet understand. After work, Nira decided to take a walk outside the town. The ruins of old mining colonies lay just beyond the hills. The wind carried the scent of dust and metal. Broken machinery and collapsed buildings told stories of generations long gone. Nira liked visiting the ruins because they reminded her that life was larger than the small routines of the town. As she walked, a strange light appeared among the rocks. It was soft at first, almost like a reflection of the sun, but it moved in a pattern, pulsing gently. Curious, Nira approached. Her heart beat faster with a mix of fear and excitement. Hidden in a crack of stone was a small alien artifact. It glimmered with colors she could not name, and faint symbols moved across its surface like tiny rivers of light. She reached out to touch it. The moment her fingers brushed the smooth surface, a surge of energy rushed through her. Her vision blurred, and she fell to her knees, gripping the artifact as waves of heat and light poured into her body. Images flashed in her mind. Ships gliding silently through space, planets with glowing cities, alien creatures bowing in respect. She saw herself, not as the technician she had always been, but as a queen in a vast galactic empire. The vision ended as suddenly as it had begun. Nira collapsed, breathing heavily, her hands shaking. The artifact lay before her, calm and silent, as if nothing had happened. She looked around, but the ruins were empty, the wind calm. Nira sat there for a long time, trying to make sense of what she had seen. Could it be a dream? Or was it something more? When she finally returned to town, the sun was setting. The streets were quiet, and lights began to glow in the windows. Nira kept the artifact hidden in her bag. She could not tell anyone about it, not yet. They would not understand. Even she did not fully understand. That night, Nira could not sleep. She kept thinking about the images, the feeling of power that had surged through her body. She remembered the ships, the cities, and the creatures bowing to her. She could not shake the thought that somehow those visions were real. Her life, as ordinary as it seemed, might be connected to something much greater. The next day, strange things began to happen around her again. Machines at the workshop started responding to her touch in ways they never had before. A small repair drone hovered in the air without power, waiting for her instructions. Wires connected themselves. Panels slid into place as if guided by invisible hands. Nira realized that the energy she had felt from the artifact was still with her. She tried to ignore it, focusing on her work. But the feeling grew stronger. At first it was subtle, a tingle in her fingers, a warmth in her chest. Then it became impossible to ignore. Machines across the workshop reacted to her presence. Even the lights seemed to brighten when she entered a room. People began to notice. Her colleagues watched her with curiosity and slight fear. Nira could not explain it, and she did not try. She was not ready to understand her power yet. Instead, she focused on what she knew: repairing machines, keeping her town running, and trying to live a normal life. But the ordinary life she had always known was slipping away. Small things reminded her that she was not like everyone else. Birds reacted strangely when she walked near. Energy readings in the city spiked when she passed. And sometimes when she closed her eyes, she saw distant stars and alien worlds calling to her. One evening, Nira went to the highest hill overlooking her town. She watched the twin suns set behind the mountains. The sky turned gold and pink, and the wind carried the scent of minerals and dust. She felt a presence in the air, as if the stars themselves were whispering her name. She closed her eyes and reached out with her mind, unsure why. A voice answered her, not with words but with understanding. Images of ships, worlds, and alien civilizations filled her mind. She understood then that the visions had not been a dream. They were memories, or perhaps a calling. She was part of something greater, something that had been waiting for her awakening. Nira opened her eyes and looked at her hands. They seemed ordinary, but she knew they were not. Power flowed through her, hidden but undeniable. She felt fear but also determination. She would have to learn to control it. She would have to understand what she was and what she was meant to do. The night passed quietly, but Nira felt awake in a way she had never known. The ordinary life she had accepted was over. A new journey had begun, one that would take her beyond the dusty plains of Telenor, beyond the stars she had only seen in dreams, and into a galaxy full of danger, wonder, and destiny. By dawn, Nira had made a decision. She would keep her secret for now, but she would explore it. She would understand the power inside her. And when the time came, she would embrace the destiny that had been waiting across the stars. For now, she returned to her workshop. The machines hummed as if greeting her. She smiled quietly, a spark of excitement in her eyes. Life on Telenor was ordinary, yes, but Nira knew that ordinary was only the beginning. Something extraordinary was stirring, and it had chosen her. The sun rose higher, casting long shadows across the town. Nira moved among the machines with purpose, her mind alive with possibilities. She did not know what the future held, but she was ready. Whatever lay ahead, she would face it. She was Nira, the ordinary technician, but deep inside she was something much more, and the galaxy was waiting to see her rise. Nira woke early the next day, the memories of the artifact still vivid in her mind. The sun had barely touched the red horizon when she stepped outside. The air was crisp, carrying the faint smell of minerals from the mines. She walked slowly, thinking about what had happened the day before. The visions, the surge of energy, and the strange pull towards something beyond her world, all of it made her heart race. She returned to the workshop, trying to act normal. Machines hummed quietly, and her colleagues went about their work without noticing anything unusual. But Nira felt different. There was a strength inside her now, a sense that she could sense more than she ever had before. Even before touching a machine, she felt its energy, its rhythm, as if it were speaking to her in a language only she could understand. As she worked, a small repair drone drifted toward her, seemingly on its own. It hovered before her, spinning slowly, and she realized it was waiting for her instructions. Nira frowned, surprised. Normally, drones required programming or voice commands. This one responded without either. She reached out and the drone adjusted its position to match her hand movements. She felt a strange thrill. The energy she had felt from the artifact was still inside her, growing stronger. Later, during a break, Nira walked to the edge of town. She wanted to think, to understand what was happening. The wind moved through her hair, carrying the distant hum of the mines. She closed her eyes and tried to focus. The visions from the artifact returned, clearer this time. She saw vast fleets of ships gliding silently through the blackness of space. She saw cities glowing on planets with colors she could not name, and she saw herself, standing tall among alien leaders, commanding respect and fear at the same time. The visions were accompanied by a strange sensation in her chest. Her heartbeat matched the rhythm of distant stars. She felt connected to something enormous, something that stretched across the galaxy. Nira realized that she was not just an ordinary technician. She was more than that. Something inside her had awakened, a power she could barely understand. As she opened her eyes, she noticed movement near the horizon. A small ship, sleek and unlike anything from Telenor, descended silently. Its design was smooth, with a silver surface that reflected the morning light. Nira froze. The ship landed a short distance away and a ramp extended to the ground. Two figures emerged. They were not human. Their skin was a pale blue and their eyes glowed softly. Their presence was calm but commanding. One of them stepped forward and spoke not with words but through her mind. The message was clear. "We have found you, Queen Nira. The galaxy has been waiting." Nira stumbled back, her heart pounding. She had expected visions, feelings, even strange phenomena, but not this. Her mind struggled to process the reality before her. "Queen," she whispered to herself. "How can I be a queen? I am just Nira." The alien stepped closer, and Nira could feel a wave of energy radiating from them. It was not threatening, but it was powerful, undeniable. She realized that these beings had been searching for her for a long time. Somehow they knew who she truly was. "Why me?" Nira finally asked, her voice shaking. The alien's mind spoke again. "You are the last of your line. The power within you is unique. The galaxy needs you. You were hidden here for safety, but the time has come for you to awaken fully." Nira shook her head, trying to deny it. She was an ordinary technician, a simple person who repaired machines. She did not belong to fleets of ships or alien empires. Yet deep inside she felt the pull again. The energy from the artifact, the visions, the connection to the stars, it was real. She could not ignore it. The alien stepped aside, gesturing toward the ship. "Come with us. Learn what you are. Learn what you can do." Nira hesitated. Fear and doubt weighed heavily on her, but curiosity and something stronger pulled her forward. She nodded slowly and stepped toward the ship. As she entered, the interior glowed softly. Panels lit up with alien symbols and the air vibrated with energy. It was a place of power, and Nira could feel her own strength responding to it. The ship lifted smoothly into the sky, leaving the red plains of Telenor behind. Outside the windows, stars stretched across the void. Nira felt both small and vast, like a single thread in a tapestry of unimaginable scale. The alien beside her extended their hand. "You will learn quickly. The Vrikari, a warlike species, are expanding. They destroy without mercy. Your awakening is urgent." Nira felt a shiver run through her. She had never thought of herself as a protector, a leader, or a fighter. Yet the words resonated with something inside her. She had the power to change things, to protect lives. That realization made her heart beat faster. Over the next hours, the alien guided Nira through the ship, teaching her to feel the flow of energy in machines, in living beings, and even in the stars themselves. At first, it was overwhelming. The energy surged through her body, making her dizzy and weak, but she focused and slowly she began to control it. A small drone floated above her hand, responding to her thoughts. Lights pulsed along the walls, echoing the rhythm of her heartbeat. "You have more than power," the alien said. "You have creativity, intuition, and determination. These are qualities no technology can replace. They will make you a leader unlike any other." Nira listened, absorbing every word. She realized that her human traits, her curiosity, her courage, her persistence, were what made her special. The energy and visions were only part of it. Her mind, her choices, and her heart would define her as much as the alien power within her. Days passed aboard the ship, though time felt different in space. Nira trained, learning to manipulate energy fields, communicate with machines, and sense threats across distances. Each exercise strengthened her body and mind. Each lesson revealed more of her past life and the galaxy she was destined to lead. During one session, she experienced a vision that went beyond anything she had seen before. She stood on a massive bridge overlooking thousands of ships. Creatures of different shapes and sizes moved around her, respecting her authority. Planets glowed in the distance and star systems aligned like instruments in a symphony. She felt fear and excitement together. She could do this. She could lead. The alien guiding her observed silently. "You are ready for the first step. Soon you will face the Vrikari. They are ruthless, but they are not prepared for you." Nira's heart pounded at the thought of facing a deadly enemy. She was still learning, still understanding her powers. Yet she also felt a strange calm. Her mind was clear, her purpose defined. She would protect the galaxy, not because she sought glory, but because it was necessary. Her ordinary life had been a preparation for this moment, and now she could not turn back. The ship approached a distant system where the Rakari were attacking a small colony. Nira looked through the viewing window, seeing smoke rising from burning buildings. Ships moved aggressively through space, firing energy beams at fleeing vessels. Nira felt anger and determination mix within her. This was no longer a distant threat. It was real, and she had the power to intervene. The alien beside her extended a hand. Focus, let your energy flow through you. Protect the innocent. Trust yourself. Nira closed her eyes and reached inward. The energy responded, humming in harmony with her thoughts. Machines on the ship aligned with her will. She sent waves of force to shield fleeing ships and redirect energy blasts from the Rakari. Her actions were instinctive, guided by both human intuition and alien power. Ships turned and fled, and the Rakari were forced to retreat. The colony was saved. Nira opened her eyes, feeling exhausted but exhilarated. For the first time, she realized the full weight of her responsibility. She was not just powerful. She was a protector, a leader, a force that could change the galaxy. As the ship returned to space, Nira sat quietly, staring at the stars. Her life on Telenor had been ordinary, simple, and safe. That life was gone. She was awakening into something extraordinary. She was not just Nira the technician. She was Nira, the future queen of a galaxy in need, and she would rise. Nira had never felt so alive. Each day aboard the alien ship brought new lessons and new challenges. Her powers were growing rapidly, and her confidence with them increased. She could sense energy flowing through machines, through ships, and even through the stars themselves. Every pulse of power she felt seemed to connect her to the galaxy in ways she could barely understand. Yet with this growth came a heavy responsibility. The Rakari, a ruthless species, were advancing. Their fleets swept across star systems, destroying colonies, capturing resources and leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. Nira had glimpsed reports of their attacks during her training. Each report left her feeling a mixture of anger and urgency. She could no longer remain hidden. She had to act. The alien guiding her, named Kale, had prepared her for this moment. The Rakari are powerful, Kale said, but they rely on force and fear. You rely on strategy, intuition, and creativity. That is what makes you dangerous to them. Nira listened carefully, absorbing every word. She had spent her life solving problems, repairing machines, and thinking logically. Those skills were now being applied on a scale she had never imagined. She realized that being human gave her a unique advantage. While the Rakari relied on brute strength and overwhelming numbers, she could think, plan, and inspire others. Their first mission brought them to the edge of a system under attack. A small fleet of human and alien vessels was trapped near an unstable planet. The Rakari ships swarmed around them, firing energy beams that tore through shields. The trapped fleet's engines were failing, and panic spread quickly among the crew. Nira took a deep breath and stepped onto the command platform of the ship. She reached out with her mind, feeling the flow of energy in every vessel. Machines responded to her thoughts as if they were extensions of her own body. She guided the fleet, coordinating movements, shielding weaker ships, and redirecting energy blasts away from vulnerable colonies. Kyle watched silently, impressed by Nira's skill. "You are learning quickly," he said. "The Rakari will not expect this. They are not prepared for a human mind controlling energy with such precision." As Nira focused, she felt a new sensation. A pulse of power flowed through her body, stronger than anything before. She realized she could manipulate not only machines but also the environment around her. The planet's magnetic field shifted slightly in response to her thoughts, creating protective barriers and redirecting debris that threatened the fleet. The Rakari ships faltered. Confused by the sudden and unpredictable defenses, Nira's energy flowed outward, creating a shield around the fleeing vessels. Slowly, the trapped fleet gained confidence, following her guidance to escape the deadly orbit of the planet. When the last ship cleared the danger zone, Nira exhaled, feeling exhausted but victorious. For the first time, she understood the full impact of her abilities. She was not just powerful, she was a force for protection. She could save lives. She could stand against threats that seemed impossible. After the mission, Nira gathered with leaders from the fleet. Humans, aliens, and other species who had survived the Ricari attacks looked at her with awe and curiosity. Some were cautious, unsure of who this young human was, yet they could not ignore the results. Nira spoke simply, explaining strategies, plans, and the need for cooperation. Her words were clear, and her calm confidence inspired the group. Humans and aliens alike began to follow her lead, not because of fear, but because they trusted her judgment. They saw a new kind of strength, one that combined intelligence, courage, and compassion. Over the next weeks, Nira worked tirelessly. She coordinated patrols, trained crews, and reinforced vulnerable colonies. She discovered that her powers grew stronger when others trusted and followed her. Energy surged through her more efficiently when she guided a fleet or protected lives. She realized that leadership was more than giving orders. It was about inspiring belief, creating unity, and acting decisively in the face of danger. During one patrol near a distant star system, Nira detected a massive Ricari armada approaching. Their ships were larger, faster, and more numerous than anything she had faced before. Panic began to spread among the fleets she protected. Nira felt the weight of responsibility settle heavily on her shoulders. She could not allow fear to take over. Kale stood beside her, offering guidance. "Trust yourself, Nira. You have faced challenges before. You can handle this one. The Ricari will underestimate you, as all have before. Use that." Nira nodded, focusing on the energy around her. She sent out a pulse that scanned the enemy ships, reading their energy patterns, weaknesses, and formations. She noticed that the Ricari relied heavily on coordination, but their strategy was rigid. Their ships were powerful individually but predictable as a group. An idea formed in her mind. Using her energy, she could disrupt their formations, confuse their sensors, and redirect their attacks. It was risky, but it was the only chance to protect the fleet. She took a deep breath and extended her hand, sending waves of energy through space. The pulse spread, interacting with every ship, every shield, and every engine in the area. The Ricari fleet faltered. Ships collided with each other as their coordination failed. Energy beams misfired, hitting nothing or bouncing harmlessly into space. Nira guided the fleeing fleets through the chaos, keeping them safe as the Ricari scrambled to regain control. When the battle ended, the Ricari had retreated, but Nira knew it was only temporary. They would return, stronger and more prepared. Yet she also knew that she and her allies had grown stronger too. They had survived, and they had proven that cooperation, courage, and intelligence could overcome brute force. Later, Nira visited a small human colony that had been threatened by the Ricari. Children played in the streets, unaware of the danger they had narrowly escaped. Adults spoke in whispers about the mysterious woman who had saved them, marveling at her bravery and skill. Nira smiled quietly, realizing that she had touched lives in a way she had never imagined. That evening aboard the ship, Nira stood at the viewing platform, staring into the stars. She thought about her life on Telenor, her simple routines, and the quiet streets she had once walked. That world felt small now, almost like a dream. She was part of something larger, something that stretched across the galaxy. Kale approached her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You have done well today," he said, "but the challenges ahead are greater. The Ricari will not give up easily. They will adapt, learn, and attack again. You must be ready." Nira nodded, determination shining in her eyes. She understood that being powerful was only part of the journey. Leadership, strategy, and courage would be tested constantly. She also realized that she could not do it alone. Allies, trust, and teamwork were as important as her own abilities. Over the following days, Nira began forming alliances with other races affected by the Ricari. She traveled from system to system, meeting leaders, sharing knowledge, and inspiring hope. Each alliance brought new challenges but also new strengths. Ships, resources, and ideas combined in ways that created a network of protection against the Ricari. Despite the successes, Nira also faced doubt. Sometimes she wondered if she was ready for the responsibility of leading an entire galaxy. The weight of lives, planets, and civilizations pressed heavily on her shoulders, yet each time she hesitated, she remembered the people she had saved, the colonies that thrived, and the trust placed in her. That gave her strength. One night, as the ship traveled through a quiet system, Nira sat alone, meditating on her powers and responsibilities. She felt energy flowing around her, not just in the ship or the fleet, but in the stars themselves. She understood that her abilities were connected to something much larger than herself. The galaxy was alive with energy, waiting for those who could harness it wisely. A sudden alert interrupted her thoughts. A distress signal came from a distant system under attack. Neera's mind focused immediately. She felt the urgency, the fear, and the hope of the people on the other side. Without hesitation, she directed the fleet, guiding ships with precision and care. The mission was dangerous, but she had learned to trust herself and the energy flowing through her. The battle was fierce, but Neera's leadership and strategy turned the tide. Ships that had been cornered were freed, shields strengthened, and energy blasts redirected away from innocent worlds. The Ricari retreated once again, but this time with a warning. Neera knew that the conflict was far from over. As the fleet regrouped, Neera realized the truth of her journey. She was not just a human with power. She was a protector, a leader, and a force that could unite diverse species against a common threat. Her ordinary life on Telenor had been only the beginning, preparing her for the responsibilities and challenges she now faced. She looked out at the stars, feeling the energy of the galaxy flowing through her. She was ready to face the coming battles. She was ready to rise. The Ricari were dangerous, but Neera was determined. With courage, strategy, and the trust of allies, she would defend the innocent, unite civilizations, and prove that even an ordinary human could become extraordinary. And the galaxy would see her power, her wisdom, and her determination. Neera had grown into her power, but she still felt the weight of responsibility pressing heavily on her shoulders. Every system she visited, every fleet she guided reminded her that the galaxy was vast, full of challenges and full of lives depending on her decisions. The Ricari threat had not disappeared, and their attacks had grown more organized. Yet Neera had changed. She no longer doubted herself as she had in the early days. She had a purpose, and she was ready to embrace it fully. The fleet assembled at the edge of a contested star system. Planets that could have been peaceful were now battlegrounds. The Ricari moved with precision, attacking colonies and fleets with strategies designed to overwhelm their opponents. Neera studied the enemy formations, scanning the ships, reading energy flows, and noticing patterns. Her power had grown beyond manipulating machines and shields. She could sense the flow of energy in star systems themselves. Magnetic fields, planetary energy, and even gravitational currents responded subtly to her presence. She realized she could use these forces to influence the battlefield in ways the Ricari could not anticipate. Kyle stood beside her, observing silently. "The time has come," he said. "You are no longer just a protector. You are a leader, a queen. Others will follow you because they trust your judgment and your power. You must act decisively." Neera nodded, feeling the energy surging inside her. She raised her hands and the fleet responded. Ships moved in perfect synchronization, shields strengthened, and weapon systems aligned to her will. She extended her awareness to the Ricari fleet, predicting their movements and anticipating their attacks. The battle began with sudden intensity. Ricari ships fired energy beams that tore through space, targeting vulnerable vessels. Neera's mind moved quickly, directing ships to dodge, shields to expand, and weapons to respond. She felt the pulse of the star system around her, using gravitational shifts to create natural barriers and redirect attacks. It was unlike anything the Ricari had ever faced. Their formations faltered, ships collided, and confusion spread throughout their ranks. Neera guided the fleet with confidence, combining strategy, intuition, and power. She felt alive, powerful, and responsible all at once. During the battle, she sensed a new power awakening within her. It was not just controlling ships or energy fields. It was the ability to influence larger cosmic forces. She focused on a small cluster of planets at the edge of the system, creating protective shields that absorbed enemy fire and redirected dangerous debris toward the Ricari ships. Her mind expanded with the energy, connecting her to the system itself. The Ricari leader, a massive figure commanding from a distant ship, noticed the interference. Confusion crossed his mind, but he could not understand the source. The human they had underestimated was no longer ordinary. Neera's powers, combined with her strategic mind, made her nearly unstoppable. As the battle reached its climax, Neera made a decisive move. She combined the energy of her fleet with the natural forces of the star system, creating a protective barrier that enveloped the fleeing colonies and trapped the Ricari ships in a chaotic storm of energy. Beams of redirected fire struck their formations, disabling engines and shields. The Ricari were forced to retreat, leaving the system under Nira's control. After the battle, Nira addressed the fleets. Humans, aliens, and other species gathered to hear her speak. She did not boast of her power. She spoke of unity, courage, and cooperation. She reminded them that the galaxy was large and dangerous, but together, they could protect it. Her words were simple, clear, and inspiring. Her influence grew quickly. Colonies began to trust her guidance, and fleets followed her commands with precision. Nira realized that being a queen was not about ruling with fear or power alone. It was about inspiring trust, making strategic choices, and protecting those who could not protect themselves. Days later, Nira visited a recently liberated planet. The inhabitants greeted her as a savior, their eyes filled with hope. Children ran alongside her, curious and fearless. Adults shared stories of how her guidance had saved them. Nira smiled quietly, humbled by the trust they placed in her, but there was no time for celebration. Kale reminded her that the Fricari would return, stronger and more determined. Nira spent hours planning defenses, training fleets, and strengthening alliances. She realized that her power alone could not protect the galaxy. She needed others to fight with her, to follow her lead, and to trust her judgment. During one quiet moment, Nira stood on a balcony overlooking the planet city. She felt the energy of the world flowing through her. Machines, buildings, and even the ground beneath her feet responded subtly to her presence. She understood that her connection to the galaxy was growing, and with it her ability to influence events on a larger scale. Her thoughts were interrupted by a communication from a distant system. The Fricari were preparing a massive attack on a coalition of allied planets. Nira's mind focused immediately. She studied the incoming fleet, noting the size, speed, and formation of the enemy. She calculated strategies, predicting their moves before they happened. She gathered the fleet leaders for a meeting. "We face a large enemy force," she said calmly. "They rely on strength and numbers. We rely on strategy, intelligence, and unity. We will defend the coalition, protect the innocent, and drive them back. Trust yourselves, trust each other, and trust me." Her words were met with nods and determination. Nira could feel the energy of the leaders, their confidence growing with her guidance. The fleet prepared for battle, following her instructions with precision. When the battle began, Nira's leadership was evident. She directed ships to create protective barriers, used energy to manipulate the battlefield, and anticipated enemy attacks with uncanny accuracy. The Fricari were confused and frustrated. They had faced skilled leaders before, but none with the combination of human creativity, intuition, and alien power that Nira possessed. During the fight, she noticed a cluster of Fricari ships attempting to escape to regroup and attack later. Nira acted quickly, using her energy to cut off their path, forcing them back into the main battle. The Fricari commander realized too late that they had underestimated the human queen. The battle ended with the Fricari retreating once again. The coalition of planets had survived, and Nira's influence had grown even stronger. Leaders from different species approached her, seeking advice and guidance. They spoke of unity, courage, and strategy, and Nira realized that her role was becoming more than just a protector. She was a unifying force, a symbol of hope, and a leader capable of shaping the future of the galaxy. That evening, Nira returned to her private quarters. She sat quietly, reflecting on her journey. From the dusty streets of Telenor to the command of fleets and battles across the stars, she had come far. Her power had grown, but so had her responsibility. She understood that the galaxy was full of dangers, but also full of potential. She could shape its future, protect the innocent, and inspire unity among diverse species. Kale joined her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You have done more than I imagined," he said. "You are no longer just Nira. You are the queen the galaxy needs. Your human nature combined with your power makes you unique. Others will follow you because they see your wisdom, courage, and determination." Nira nodded quietly. She felt a mixture of pride, humility, and determination. She knew the Fricari would return, and new threats would arise. But she also knew that she was ready. She had grown into her role, embraced her power, and proven that even an ordinary human could become extraordinary. As she looked out at the stars, Nira felt a connection that went beyond her power. She felt the lives she had saved, the allies she had united, and the potential for a galaxy that could thrive under guidance, cooperation, and courage. She was no longer just a technician. She was a leader, a protector and a queen. Her journey was far from over, but Nira was ready. She would face every challenge with intelligence, strategy, and courage. She would inspire others to rise with her, and together, they would create a galaxy where peace and cooperation could thrive. The stars stretched endlessly before her, full of possibilities and dangers. Nira's heart was steady, her mind focused, and her spirit strong. She was the queen the galaxy had been waiting for, and she would rise to meet every challenge. The Ricari would learn that underestimating a human was their greatest mistake. Nira had become more than they could imagine. She was not just powerful, she was wise, courageous, and determined. She was a leader who could unite worlds, protect lives, and shape the future of the galaxy. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy had changed since Nira first discovered the alien artifact on Telenor. She had grown from a quiet technician into a leader, a protector, and the alien queen. Her influence stretched across systems, her fleets safeguarded countless worlds, and her alliances united diverse species in a way no one had imagined possible. Yet despite her victories, Nira knew the greatest challenge was still ahead. Intelligence reports indicated that the Ricari had assembled their largest fleet ever. They had learned from past defeats, studied Nira's tactics, and were determined to crush her influence once and for all. This fleet was massive, its ships heavily armed and coordinated with deadly precision. They advanced toward a cluster of planets vital to the survival of the coalition Nira had built. Nira stood on the command deck of her flagship, looking at the stars. She felt the flow of energy in the system, sensing the positions of ships, planetary energy fields, and gravitational currents. She had faced difficult battles before, but this one felt different. The stakes were higher, the enemy stronger, and the lives depending on her more numerous than ever. Kale approached her, a calm presence in the storm of activity. "This is the battle that will define the galaxy for generations," he said. "You must lead with your mind, your heart, and your power. Trust yourself, Nira. You have prepared for this moment." Nira nodded. Her hands hovered above the control interface, connecting with every ship in her fleet. She could feel their engines, weapons, and shields responding to her thoughts. The Ricari fleet advanced steadily, confident in their strength. They underestimated one thing: the combination of human ingenuity and alien power that Nira embodied. The first wave of attacks came swiftly. Ricari ships fired massive energy beams, tearing through space and targeting the outermost vessels of Nira's fleet. She extended her awareness, redirecting the blasts using shields, energy pulses, and gravitational shifts. Ships moved in perfect coordination, dodging attacks and returning fire. Nira's mind worked in perfect rhythm with the energy around her. The Ricari commander, a towering figure with armor that glowed ominously, realized the human queen was not only controlling her fleet, but influencing the environment itself. Gravitational anomalies, energy pulses, and redirected attacks caused confusion among the enemy. Their formations faltered, giving Nira's allies openings they had never seen before. Nira acted decisively. She sent a concentrated wave of energy toward the Ricari flagship, disrupting its shields and systems. At the same time, she guided smaller ships to flank the enemy, isolating their forces. The battle became a dance of strategy and power, with Nira at the center. Every decision she made shifted the tide in favor of her fleet. Amid the chaos, Nira sensed the lives of those on the planets below. Colonies braced for bombardment, civilians huddled in shelters, and entire ecosystems were at risk. She extended her energy downward, creating protective barriers that absorbed incoming fire and stabilized planetary energy fields. The planets were safe, and her fleet could focus entirely on the enemy. Hours passed like minutes as the battle raged. Nira guided her forces with precision, striking the enemy at weak points and reinforcing her allies where needed. The Ricari were powerful, but their reliance on force and fear could not overcome the combination of strategy, unity, and the extraordinary energy that Nira wielded. Then, the Ricari commander attempted a bold maneuver, a concentrated strike aimed directly at Nira's flagship, intending to destroy her and demoralize her fleet. Nira felt the energy of the attack as it approached, immense and deadly. She focused, drawing on every ounce of power she had learned to control. She extended her influence beyond the ship, manipulating energy fields, gravity, and even the flow of time in a small pocket around her vessel. The attack dissipated harmlessly, leaving the flagship unscathed. For the first time, Nira realized the full extent of her power. She was not limited to ships and shields. She could manipulate entire systems temporarily, using natural forces as weapons or protection. The Vrikari commander recoiled, realizing the human queen's abilities were beyond anything they had encountered. With renewed determination, Nira launched a counterattack. She coordinated every ship, every weapon, every energy pulse, guiding them like a conductor of a galactic symphony. The Vrikari ships were overwhelmed, their formations collapsing under the precise and unpredictable tactics of Nira's command. Ships surrendered, retreated, or were disabled, and the Vrikari fleet was forced to flee. The battle was won, but Nira knew the galaxy's safety depended on more than defeating one fleet. She convened a council of leaders from allied planets, humans and aliens alike. Together, they discussed strategies to prevent future invasions, strengthen defenses, and ensure that the galaxy could thrive in peace. During the council, Nira addressed the leaders with calm authority. "The galaxy is vast and dangers will always exist," she said. "But we have proven that unity, courage, and intelligence can overcome fear and strength. We will protect the innocent, defend our worlds, and work together to build a future where cooperation matters more than power alone." Her words inspired hope across species. Leaders who had once been cautious, even skeptical, now pledged their support. Humans and aliens worked together, sharing knowledge, resources, and strategies. Nira's influence was no longer just a symbol of power. It was a guiding force shaping the future of the galaxy. After the council, Nira returned to her flagship. She stood on the observation deck, looking at the stars stretching endlessly before her. Memories of Telenor flashed in her mind, the quiet streets, the dusty plains, the simple life she had once known. That world had shaped her, taught her persistence, humility, and courage. But now she had grown into her destiny. Kale joined her, his expression calm but proud. "You have done more than anyone could have imagined," he said. "You are not just a queen of fleets and planets. You are a queen of hearts and minds. You have united species, inspired courage, and shown that even one human can change the course of the galaxy." Nira smiled quietly. She felt a mixture of pride and humility. Her journey had been long, and the challenges she faced had tested every part of her mind, her heart, and her spirit. Yet she had emerged stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. She turned her gaze to the distant systems she had yet to protect. The galaxy was full of possibilities, challenges, and opportunities. Nira understood that leadership was not about power alone. It was about responsibility, foresight, and compassion. Every choice she made had consequences, and she would carry that responsibility with care. Over the following weeks, Nira traveled to planets that had been threatened or isolated. She helped rebuild colonies, establish communication networks, and train fleets for defense. She met countless individuals who looked at her with hope, gratitude, and trust. Children played in streets free from fear, and adults shared stories of how the human queen had saved their homes. Through it all, Nira remained grounded. She remembered the ordinary life she had once led and drew strength from it. Her human qualities, curiosity, empathy, and determination, were as important as her alien powers. She realized that her greatness came not only from her abilities, but from her choices and her willingness to protect and inspire others. One evening, Nira visited Telenor. She walked through the quiet streets of her home planet, now a place she could see with new eyes. The red soil, the jagged rocks, and the familiar streets felt different. They were a reminder of her origins, the life that had prepared her for everything she had become. People greeted her with awe and respect, but she smiled and spoke simply, sharing guidance and encouragement rather than displaying her power. Children ran alongside her, curious and fearless, asking questions about the stars, ships, and battles she had faced. Nira knelt to speak with them, sharing lessons of courage, curiosity, and unity. She realized that her influence extended not only across fleets and planets, but also through generations, inspiring hope and imagination in the youngest of the galaxy's inhabitants. As night fell, Nira stood on a hill overlooking Telenor. The twin suns had set, leaving the sky full of stars. She felt the energy of the galaxy flowing through her, connecting her to planets, fleets, and people across vast distances. She understood that her journey was far from over, but she was ready. The galaxy would face challenges, but it would also flourish under her guidance. Kale joined her, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. "You have risen to your destiny, Nira," he said. "You are the queen the galaxy needed. Your power, wisdom, and humanity will guide civilizations for generations. Neera smiled, feeling a quiet satisfaction. She had embraced her destiny, protected the innocent, and united diverse species. She had faced fearsome enemies, survived impossible battles, and grown into a leader capable of shaping the galaxy. Yet she remained grounded, remembering her origins and the lessons of her ordinary life.